Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is June 19th. It's really fucking hot out. We hit, I think, 45 or 40-something degrees here in Ottawa. Way too hot. I am dying. Way too hot to be outside. Doing this a little earlier than I normally do because once that sun starts coming through the curtains, and it still gets through the curtains, it will get really, really hot in here. What is on tap for today's episode? We are starting the Hall of Very Good. And NFL weekly update, of course. Hall of Very Good. We're going to take it easy. It's going to be a shorter episode. We're going to do special teamers and we're going to do head coaches. I also forgot I was supposed to do head coaches, so I just made a quick list. What has been happening? Oh, I have to say huge thank you to Art and Brian for last week's episode. It was awesome, a lot of fun to record, and as I said, I think last week that I want to do more stuff like that because it's fun. It's fun to have silly conversations with your friends. What else is happening? Oh, I started my CFL gig, my radio spotter gig. Being on the field is fantastic. And as someone who doesn't really appreciate the CFL game, or I see more potential than there could be, I digress though. They are my employer now. But no, being on field level and being actually like on sideline, like I am right on the sidelines. Like there are play where the guys are running down the field, and the very first time it happened, like on our side where the players are like running towards us, everyone immediately stepped back, and I just kind of looked to my left, looked to my right, and I was like, oh, I should also probably step back. Wouldn't mind kind of getting smoked by one of the players because I mean that's kind of cool, getting hit by a pro football player. No, and I was pretty impressed with the Red Blacks and some guys on the roster. I wasn't aware of how many actual former NFL guys they had on their team. Lorenzo Molden is on their defensive line. I think he was a day 2 pick by the Jets, and he's been on the Red Blacks for a while now. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year in the CFL at some point. They also added Justin Hardy, who is a former Falcons 5th-round pick. He had a very, very good game. Reichwell Armstead, the former Jacksonville Jags running back, he actually bumped into me when he was going back to the bench. I think that's it. There's a couple other guys who... Oh, Braylon Addison, who didn't play in the NFL, but former Oregon Duck, my Oregon Ducks. No, it's very cool. Loved, being that close, you can hear all of those hits. You can hear all the shit talking. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I guess that's a little bit of an update of what's happening with me. Let's get into the NFL Weekly Update, though. Not too much to talk about. But a couple big news pieces anyways. Trevor Lawrence has signed a 5-year, $275 million deal, tying him AAV-wise with Joe Burrow as the highest-paid QB in the league. How do I want to start this? I guess we can start it with, does Trevor Lawrence currently deserve that money? God, no, absolutely not. It's crazy to me that that's kind of the money he did get, because he's been good, but he has not hit that peak and that ceiling when people like myself tabbed him as like a generational prospect. He hasn't even been close to that ceiling that we all put on him. And just like a couple stats, so Trevor Lawrence has exceeded 335 passing yards just twice in his 52-game career. Joe Flacco did it 7 times in his last 10 games last season for the Browns. And when you match up Blake Bortles' first 50 career starts for the Jags and Trevor Lawrence's first 50 career starts for the Jags, pretty similar. Bortles, I think Bortles beat him in touchdowns and yards, more turnovers, but the numbers aren't great. It's all you just hope that he becomes what he's supposed to be. And there's a lot of things and a lot of stats that also kind of go his way, where I think that his on target deep ball rate was one of the highest in the NFL, but dropped the drop balls from that was he was far and away the most like affected by that, where or most EPA lost or something like that. So like, and he's had shitty teams like that. Urban Meyer team was an absolute disaster, and they've kind of been trying to fit the pieces back together. And I like the direction that they're going in right now, but my God, does he have to take a huge jump to really kind of earn that money? And I still think he can do that. I still think that by the end of this year, he will be a top 10 quarterback in this league. And if he's not by the end of this year, it's a little worrisome for the Jags. But it's also like, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence locked up for the next 5 years, or I guess now it'll be 7 years, including this year, because he has this year on his rookie deal, fifth-year option, then his deal kicks in. Like, they paid him a lot of money, and it's all on a hope and a whim that he's going to be that guy. A lot of people still believe he's going to be that guy. I still believe he's going to be that guy, but needs to show something. Needs to show something, and all that does for the other QB market drives up the price. Like, Tua, now that Lawrence has gotten that money, Tua can definitely go to the Dolphins and be like, I should be the highest paid QB in the league because I am better than Trevor Lawrence. And he is better than Trevor Lawrence. Is he better than Joe Burrow? Is he better than Josh Allen? Is he better than Lamar? Is he better than... I think those are the guys that, yeah. Like, no, but the market is the market, and it sucks right now. And Miami better get to the fucking table soon and better have that deal done soon, because Jordan Love is going to get a deal soon. Dak still needs to get paid. And I don't want to be the first team in the NFL to give their quarterback $60 million AAV, because that's probably coming next offseason. Yeah, so that was the big news. The Dolphins also made a move. They signed Calais Campbell, one of the better defensive players of this generation. He's old. Like, I think he's going into his 18th or his 16th season in the NFL. Still a very, very productive player. He was on the Falcons last year. And yeah, at his old age, he is still great. And we bring him in here. He's not a Christian Wilkins replacement. No one can replace him. But he's pretty damn close. So it'll be him, Zach Seiler, Tier Tart in at nose tackle, and then we got a bunch of other guys doing that rotation. All I know is he's better than Benito Jones or Deshaun Hand, who would have been in one of those spots. Calais Campbell gets us a guy who still very, very good at his old age. Is he the elite guy from Jacksonville or the elite guy from Baltimore? No. Is he still very good? Arizona, I should mention too. I think he went Jags, Arizona, Baltimore. That sounds right. Or was it Arizona? Either way, I won't get into it. Calais Campbell, awesome that he is on the team. Our defensive line, including edge, is very fucking good. Is very fucking good. I'll say it's better than last year because we have more depth on the edge anyways, but like, even on the interior, like, Seiler's still there. I think Tier Tart's an upgrade over Raekwon Davis, and at that like nose tackle spot, Calais Campbell, still awesome. Definitely a downgrade from Wilkins, but still awesome. I think this was a fantastic signing, and we'll see what else we can do. Maybe a guard. That would be nice. T. Higgins officially signed his franchise tag. They worded it like he signed a 1-year deal. He did not. So he's going to show up at training camp, so it's good that at least the Bengals got one of their wide receivers at training camp now, because Jamar Chase is still holding out, I believe. UFL kicker Jake Bates signs with the Lions, and you're wondering why is a UFL kicker signing with the Lions news? It's because this man hit 4 or 5 60-plus yard field goals, I think some of them being 64 and 63. He's got a leg. Now he's playing for the Lions. Now he's playing indoors in a dome. If he just starts missing, he starts missing, but he has a leg. Definitely be targeting him in fantasy. he will be a very, very good kicker. And yeah, the Lions might have a top 5 kicker in the league now. Obviously, we'll see. We'll see. That's a lot of pressure to put on him, but he's got a boot. He's got a leg. And finally here, so the Eagles and the Falcons were investigated for tampering. It was found that the Eagles did not tamper with Saquon Barkley, but the Falcons did in fact tamper with Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, and I think Charlie Warner. Some other guy who's not, but they tampered with 3 players. And if you remember from a couple seasons ago when Miami it was still Brian Flores and he still didn't like Tua, and it was like, okay, let's try to go for Brady when Brady was contemplating like retirement or whatever. So Miami got fined a shit ton of money. First of all, I don't even know what the money is, but a first round pick and a fourth round pick for talking with Tom Brady. Didn't sign him, didn't whatever, just for, I think Stephen Ross brought him out on his yacht, talked with him for a bit. We were fined a first round pick and a fourth round pick. The Falcons for tampering with 3 players and signing all 3 of those players, 1 fifth round pick. I'm pissed off about that because losing a first round pick is a ton. Losing a fourth round pick is even a lot. And we didn't even sign the guy that we were tampering with. The Falcons, meanwhile, get their quarterback that they tampered with, get their number 2 receiver that they tampered with, and again, I think it's Charlie Warner, so I guess like a backup tight end, but like, I don't know, a fifth round pick, very unfair, and I don't get why such a different like sway in rules, but is what it is, I guess. Really fucking annoying though. That'll do it though for the NFL Weekly Update. Let's get over to the Hall of Very Good. So, you might have seen that I've been posting a nomination ballot. I'll still probably have it one more time, except I'll close off the special teamers now. But I put out a ballot for every position. For most positions, it was 2 guys made it in. For O-line, it was 3. And then for special teams and head coaches, only 1 guy is making it in. So I'll go through the nominees first, talk a little bit about them, and then we'll go from there. Let's start with the kickers, though. We got Jason Hanson, Steven Gostkowski, Sebastian Janikowski, Phil Dawson, Matt Bryant, Pat McAfee, and Andy Lee. Let's start with Jason Hanson, though, and honestly, they're kickers and punters. There's not much to really tell stat-wise anyways, but we'll start with Jason Hanson. He was a second-round pick for the Lions back in the late 90s. He had a 21-year career all with the Lions, which is very impressive. He was named second-team All-Pro once, was a 2-time Pro Bowler, and has a career field goal percentage of 82.4. The reason I remember Jason Hanson is when I first started getting into football, he was the Lions kicker still. And I remember looking, because he played into his 40s, and I remember looking at him and being like, damn, this man has spent half of his life in the NFL, and now it's not becoming more of the norm, but there's definitely more guys who have been playing for, I mean, Tom Brady just did it, but Tom Brady's fucking Tom Brady. But there's a couple guys who are getting up there where it's like half of their life has been spent in the NFL. He was one of them, and that's always kind of stuck with me. I don't know why, but very good kicker back in his day. Steven Gostkowski, the man who was tasked to replace Adam Vinatieri, and he did an incredible job. 15-year career, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, led the league in scoring 5 separate times, and has a career field goal percentage of 86.34. I mean, I just said it. It was like after Adam Vinatieri, one of the best kickers to ever do it, the Pats were like, shit, what are we going to do? They bring in Steven Gostkowski, and he was money, and he was money for basically all his career, and he was a big reason why those Pats teams and why like they just needed to kind of get past that 50-yard line, and they could put him out there, and you could know that that's 3 points at least. Very, very good kicker. We got Sebastian Janikowski. 18 seasons, was the 17th overall pick. Not like, oh, 17th round or whatever. No, 17th overall. Back when Al Davis was alive, man, he was doing some crazy shit with the Raiders when it was just, I mean, he drafted a kicker in the first round. I mean, way back in the day, the Raiders drafted a punter in the first round. It was all about speed, all about, it wasn't really about football. It was just more about, like, that guy's a dude. And Sebastian Janikowski was an absolute dude. The Polish Hammer, I believe, was his nickname. Could be wrong on that, but 18 seasons, one second team All Pro nod, one time Pro Bowler, career field goal percentage of 80.4, and kicked a 63-yard field goal, which at the time tied the record. I think that record's been beaten by Brandon McManus, who is a really shitty person, and then Justin Tucker, who beat that. And I think that Justin Tucker holds the record right now. I think Matt Prater might have a really, really long field goal too. Yeah, but the Polish Hammer is one of the nominees. We have Phil Dawson. See, and I remember Phil Dawson purely as being the 49ers kicker, and I just thought he was the 49ers kicker for like most of his career. I didn't realize he spent actually well over the majority of his 21, did I get that right? Yeah, 21-year career with the Browns. So, learn something new every day. Phil Dawson, though, was a two-time second-team All-Pro, career field goal percentage of 83.8. Next guy up here, we have Matt Bryant of the Atlanta Falcons. 18-year career in the NFL, but he had a little bit of a different start. He went undrafted, didn't get any training camp invites, so he went over to the Arena Football League, kicked there for a year, then went over to NFL Europe when that was a thing, kicked there for a year, and then finally the Giants signed him, and then the rest is history. Spent the majority of his career, though, with the Atlanta Falcons. One-time Pro Bowler, one-time NFL scoring leader, 85.6% field goal percentage for his career. Next guy up here, we got Pat McAfee, the media mogul over at ESPN right now. Very short career, but he just chose to go do the media stuff, and he's making way more money than he ever would have in the NFL as a punter, that's for sure. So only an 8-year career. Was a first-team All-Pro, two-time Pro Bowler. Averaged 46.4 yards per punt. And he also holds the NFL record of highest career net average punting yards at 41.1. So the net yards mean is like, okay, he kicked it to that point. That's his 46.4 average. And then the average return, I guess, on his punts was only 5.3 yards. So cool record for Pat McAfee, but the net yards basically means it's like, okay, he kicked it 50 yards, he returned it 10, net 40 yards. But yeah, McAfee, I mean, obviously massive personality, great, but everyone will remember that one play that the Colts ran where he was the only guy on the offensive line, the only guy behind center, and for some reason they snapped that ball and he got killed. Very funny play to watch. And finally, we have Andy Lee, 18-year career, long-time punter for the 49ers, three-time first-team All-Pro, one-time second-team All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler, three-time NFL punting leader, and finished his career with a 46.7 yards per punt average. So those are the nominees. And I thought I remembered who I was putting in, but I forgot. And honestly, I think I remember, though. I think it was a tie between Gostkowski, Janikowski, and Pat McAfee. So I am going to make the final call. And I got to go with Stephen Gostkowski. He has the best overall resume of these guys listed right now. The only Super Bowl champion listed, multiple All-Pros, 5-time scoring leader. His field goal percentage is great. So Stephen Gostkowski, congrats on making the Cover Zero Hall of Very Good. Over to the coaches now, and honestly, I forgot that I even had to do the coaches. I didn't put them as one of my ballots to vote on, because again, I forgot about it, so I spent some time at work during lunch in the shade trying to think of coaches. And it's harder than you think because I'm going from like a very specific range too, where it's basically majority of their career had to be spent in the 2000s to like now, basically. I'm not going with current guys because a guy like Mike McCarthy, who will be in the Hall of Very Good, not a fan of his coaching, but will be in the Hall of Very Good for obvious reasons. But so yeah, and it's also like it's weird because like some of these guys I'm listing, it's like really like Hall of Very Good, but it's like I don't know. To me, if you coached in the NFL for a long time, you had multiple winning seasons, you went on some runs, like it's hard to coach in the NFL. It's hard to be a Hall of Famer. That's why we have the Hall of Very Good here. So the nominees are Bruce Arians, Marvin Lewis, Jeff Fisher, Gary Kubiak, and Ron Rivera. Starting off with Bruce Arians, has been coaching in the NFL since 1989. What I remember him from mainly was Steelers offensive coordinator, went over to Indy, and then that was the year where Chuck Pagano had his cancer scare, needed to take some time off. Obviously, Bruce Arians was the interim head coach, and Bruce Arians ended up winning Coach of the Year as the interim head coach for the Colts. He gets a job for the Cardinals. Very good run with the Cardinals. Like the I haven't seen since. I mean, they had like the Kurt Warner run, then they were dog shit. Bruce Arians came in, Carson Palmer came in. That was a very fun team at one point, and then obviously I think he retires, goes to the Bucks, wins the Super Bowl. Now he's in their front office though, but two-time Coach of the Year, one-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach, two-time Super Bowl champ as an assistant coach, also means coordinator, and has a 62.4 win percentage in the league. Bruce Arians is just an excellent coach, excellent offensive coach. I loved him when he was at the Cardinals, where like his face would match the color of like the Cardinals red. Very red-faced man. We'll always remember that in that interview on Pardon My Take where he drank paint. Watershed moment, where were you? Next guy up here, Marvin Lewis. And this is one of those ones where it's like, really? Marvin Lewis? Was the Bengals head coach. So he, I didn't write it down, but he started with the Steelers, went over to the Ravens in like the early 90s, ended up as the Bengals head coach though for 16 years. One-time Coach of the Year, one-time Super Bowl winner as an assistant, and a 51.8 win percentage in the league. And honestly, his biggest knock is in the playoffs. He is 0-7 as a head coach in the playoffs. Could never get over that hump when he had Andy Dalton and AJ Green, and who else was on the team? Andrew Whitworth would have been the tackle. Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard. You would have had Ocho Cinco. Like, he would have had like good teams, just could never get over that wild card. And it was always like the Bengals would play. I seem to remember like the Bengals playing the Texans a bunch for some reason, but the Bengals always got boat raced wild card weekend. So Marvin Lewis, the second nominee. We have Jeff Fisher here, Mr. 500. If you don't get that, basically towards the end of his career, anyways, Jeff Fisher is guaranteed for an 8-8, 7-9 season, no matter what. But he coaching in the NFL since '86 with a 51.2 win percentage. And he's most known for taking those that Tennessee Titans team with Steve McNair going against the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams team, and having the just stretching out and just missing getting into the end zone to get that win. That was kind of his biggest moment of his career. Never got back to that moment, but Jeff Fisher, very good. Again, Hall of Very Good. He was a very good head coach for a long time. Next guy up here, we have Gary Kubiak. NFL, been coaching in the NFL since '94. Super Bowl champ with the Broncos. 3-time Super Bowl winner as an assistant with a 52.2 win percentage. I honestly forgot that Gary Kubiak became the Broncos head coach because I originally had John Fox on this list, and as I was going through and I looked, I'm like, why doesn't John Fox have the Super Bowl? It's like, oh wait, he got fired and they won the Super Bowl the very next year. So took him out, put Gary Kubiak in, the guy who actually won it, and Gary Kubiak does have a very solid resume. A lot of it as a coordinator or an assistant somewhere, but he got the job done as the head coach of a team to win the Super Bowl, and that matters. So Gary Kubiak, the fourth nominee here, and final nominee we have Ron Rivera, coaching in the NFL since '97, two-time Coach of the Year, but a 4.98 winning percentage, which not bad, 500. But those Washington teams were not very good. His Panthers teams, though, he won Coach of the Year in 2013 when they made that big jump to being like, okay, the Panthers are good. And then I think the 2015 one was the one they lost the Super Bowl and they went 15-1. He was very solid, definitely lost it towards, those Washington years, as I mentioned, but two-time Coach of the Year. Not many people can do that. Also, being two-time Coach of the Year in like that short of a span, 2013, 2015, that's kind of crazy. I don't think that would happen. It would be weird. Who got it this year? It was Kevin Stefanski. Where if Kevin Stefanski, I don't know what the Browns would have to do. Like the Browns would have to be like okay, and then next year be like 14-2, I guess, and I guess he would get it again. But like, I don't think that we see Coach of the Years usually that close together. Ron Rivera did do it. I should mention too, Ron Rivera and Jeff Fisher, part of that '85 Bears team. So both former players. A couple guys here are former players, but those are the nominees, and the winner, or not the winner, but the man inducted into the Hall of Very Good. It is Bruce Arians. Obviously, just the resume speaks alone, stands for itself. Two-time Coach of the Year for two separate franchises, Super Bowl winner, 2 Super Bowls as an assistant, a very, very good win percentage, offensive innovator, if I will add. So yeah, congrats to Stephen Gostkowski. Congrats to Bruce Arians on the 2024 induction into the Hall of Very Good. Next week, I don't even know what I have on schedule for next week. Next week we're doing DBs and safeties next week, so stay tuned for that. That'll be a good one. I'll go a little more deep dive on some of these players, but again, it's really hot. I don't really want to be doing this, so I'm going to end it here. I don't think I have anything else to really add. The Dolphins just need to pay fucking Tua, man. It's getting like, because we could have paid him before Goff, and we could have paid him 53, and it would have been fine. And now we're probably going to be paying him 56, which I'm still okay with. I'm very okay with that. Tua has been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL these past 2 seasons. If you don't agree with that, you're just flat out wrong. But yeah, that'll do it. If you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.